All right, why don't I call the meeting to order at 9:35. President Bill McGowan, Lisa McGonigal, Paul Kears, and Dan Coughlin. Our first order of business will be our next meeting, which would be the 13th of September. Is that good for everybody?
Yes,
Janella? Paul, Dan?
Looks good.
All right. So we'll get into first piece here, are from Situate. They're asking for some information on sludge thickener. Is that something that, did we give that to Scott, Lisa?
So, yeah, I'm sorry. So yes, so I invited the requester in Situate to
Can you-
come to the meeting. He didn't.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
He didn't want to attend. He just wanted information.
Okay.
So I don't see them here. Scott is here. And
Morning.
good
Scott,
morning.
how are you?
Good, how is everyone?
Good.
Wonderful. So maybe it's just a simple thing of asking Scott to contact the guys in Situate and see what they want to do for sludge.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to reach out to me, if they want to come by and see our new sludge thickener, I'm more than happy to show it to them. I mean, now that they're not on, I am going to be a little hesitant to throw out our specific pricing on sludge hauling and stuff. That's why I said to you, Lisa, I'll be glad to share any general information that I can with them. So, if they want to come by, they want to reach out, feel free.
Okay.
I might come down. After talking about the sludge thickener for 4 years, I'd like to see what it looks like.
Now's the time to come see it. It's all
Yeah.
shiny and new.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Nothing better than a new sludge thickener.
You know it. It's running very well. And now we're on the topic of it, I mean, it's running great. Getting some nice thick sludge out of it. So solids have been real low. Helps it hasn't rained in a year or so, but yeah, no, it's working well.
Good.
What are you getting, Scott? 5, 4.5?
I can get 5. I have to control it under 5. So they can't pump it into the truck over 4.5. But I have no problem making 5% with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Everything else working all right, Scott?
Everything else is okay. Yes, our pump stations are struggling along a little bit, but other than that, we're doing okay. We did, we're gonna get there eventually, right? So we've had a delay with the pumps at Tupelo. So they're telling me now they're coming in at the end of September. Not so they obviously didn't come in on the 23rd. We have somebody ready to go. The Hayes Pump is going to install them. They're the manufacturer's rep of the pumps. It's who we purchased them from. So they're ready to go. We're just waiting on supply for them to come in. Deer Hill, we're waiting on Rosano Davis. They're doing most of the work up there. They're going to do our work at the end. They're doing all the digging, trenching, hooking up to that pump station. We're putting in new rails, the new pump, and then our new control systems. That's all scheduled to be done right at the very end of this project. But that's on schedule to go.
Good.
Yes, one other thing, Lisa, I reached out to you. We had the Department of Marine Fisheries is requesting doing some sampling again down at the facility. They're doing it at Situate, they're doing it surrounding towns. I sent Lisa the email if you want to read exactly what they're looking for.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure that the board that knows about it and is okay with us doing it. We have done it in the past, but I just want to make sure that that everyone knows, notified. And
Are you sampling at the plant or or at the outflow or what?
They want to sample they want to get pre and post disinfection. So they're going to do influence sampling and effluent sampling. Again, it's nothing permit, nothing required by us. But it's all to do with the shell fishing and but again, with everything that's going on, I want to make sure that you're aware of it and you say, give the blessing for someone to come in and test.
Now, in the request there, it says that they're going to send us a copy of the report, basically, in the 2-week time frame. So it will be interesting to see what the results are of what's happening in relationship to our lobster population and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I can certainly make sure that all that's forwarded on to everyone as well, if they're not already. I don't know who they're going to add in the email, but
Okay. Anything else?
that's it. That's it.
All right, good. Well, I'll come down someday this week and take a look at the thickener.
Excellent, excellent. They do want to start this week on that sampling, so I just want to be able to let them know, yes, that we're all.
Yeah, I don't know if we
Or
need
you
to have
want
a-
to still, if you still want to look at it, look into it, by all means.
No, I think it's fine. I don't know if Wayne or Paul, do you have a comment? I don't even know if we should have to vote on it. I think it's pretty cut and
No,
dry. Just do it.
I read it and I thought it was fine.
No, I did as well. Again, I just wanted to pass it along. Yeah, everything else here is, it's been a good summer. We're looking forward to a nice fall and some membrane cleaning.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that time of year again.
Yep.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we have the Cook Estate.
All right, let me promote everyone. All right,
All right. I see that Tom is here. Tom, do you want to take the helm of this presentation?
Sure. Just a quick update. So since I think we last spoke 2 weeks ago, we have completed the easement. We have the Sean Hardy was helpful to get the required sketch all certified. So that has been forwarded to the attorneys for filing at the registry. So I think the easement's set. We did submit a draft on the SOAR connection agreement last Friday. In terms of the construction, it's gone very well. This directional drilling, and I don't know if Paul is on, but worked very, very well. It was I think the idea to go behind the houses and avoid the street and the potential utilities worked great. I think they were able to go behind those homes in the ground again without. I think they were able to do that in 2 to 3 days. So it really worked out well. So the pipe now is coming out of the ground at the connection spot. We tried to get an update on our pump delivery. It was supposed to be in September. We ordered the pump on July 6th. I think that right now they're saying it could be potentially delayed, but Paul is working his contacts and help to try to get that. We do have the pump in for the Higgies, which will be connected as well by Paul. The generator is in, so it's just this one pump that we're waiting on. But the construction, is pretty much complete. I think all the grass at the school has been seeded and loomed. So there's very little evidence that there was disruption there at all. So that seemed to work out pretty good.
Okay.
So Dan, was there any part of that construction that needed to be observed by your group?
Yeah, there were a couple things that we picked up on. Originally, Paul was putting in Schedule 40 PVC for some of the discharge piping, and we had him change that to Schedule 80. But otherwise, everything went pretty well. And like they said, it went very fast, which was good. And we haven't been out there since last week, but I'm assuming there's not much left. We just have to check the air release manhole and then some pressure testing on the system.
Okay, so you're pretty much in touch with Rosano Davis on their schedule of events that are going to occur?
Generally
Yes,
speaking.
yes.
Okay,
Oh, I thought that was for me. Yep.
That's okay.
Okay. Paul, do you want to, I know you had some comments on the agreement. Do you want to?
yeah, we did receive an agreement from you, Tom, and last Friday, and what I'm requesting is the red line version of that agreement. I think you sent it to Sharon. And I read through it electronically, comparing it to, going from one screen to the other, trying to flip back and forth. So I did read through it. There's a lot of things in there that perhaps didn't pertain to the estates. We have talked about like the grease trap paragraph not being in there. So we understand some of those items that don't apply to the residential space that may have applied to a mixed use that was put in there. But my primary concern is that we went from a 12-page agreement down to a 7-page agreement, and I know agreements aren't based on the number of pages. It's really based on the content of the agreement. So there was a lot of things that were taken out that I have concerns about in reference to the sewer line itself. And there were some other pieces in there that I wanted to review with Sharon to make sure that there's, the legal aspect of it is put in place that is there. I mean, one example was, the paragraph 5 default was completely taken out. I don't know of any agreement that I've ever done in my private business where there wasn't a default paragraph. So there's things like that are missing. And but Dan had reviewed it last night. From his perspective, he's our subject matter expert on the sewer system itself. So he had some pieces that wanted to be put back in it. So I kind of quickly this morning read through it, but we're going to need some time to review what his concerns are, what Sharon's concerns are, and what's acceptable to the town, so we can back to you with our final agreement to what we feel is good for the town and good for the Cook Estates. Fundamentally, we've had 4 pieces of cash outlay, basically, and this is something that the commission has a history of doing, and we've had the application fee that was paid, the $27,000. That's generally to review plans and go through some of the processes of putting something into a residential facility. We then asked for a $20,000 deposit with a $10,000 replenishment to cover the expenses of Dan going out to the site. That was completely taken out of the agreement. In reviewing things with Dan, perhaps the $27,000 is going to cover his expenses. And we know that you're going to be paying the expenses. We just want to make sure that the language for the 100%, covering his expenses is there, because what normally happens is we've got to pay Dan his expenses, and then we take the bills and we pass them on to you. You have time to review them or dispute them for 14 to 30 days. And then we finally get reimbursed from the town for those expenses. So the deposit was there just to cover Dan's expenses by the town. So the town is not out 60 to 90 days on cash. So I think that based on what Dan is saying, perhaps the deposit for expenses is well covered by the $27,000 in application fee, based on what Dan is telling us, the level of inspection needs to be. So I think we can satisfy that piece of it, not being in there with the 27,000 application fee being used for that purpose. The privilege and hookup fee, if we go straight by what the assessor's office had on number of units, I think it's 83 versus the 84 that we had counted. So I'll go back and recalculate that, because your number seems to be different than what the 787 was. I think you had 730 something.
Yeah, I
And-
thought we had, the exhibit had a bedroom count of 83. So.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, I counted it. We had counted 84 because of a 5th bedroom added to the basement of one of the dwellings, and kitchen.
Correct. That's 29 Chittenden Lane.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll check that.
okay, so we have it as 84 in the agreement. So we just want to confirm that's what it is, and we were asking for a 5% deposit against the
That's
note
correct.
of 20 years.
That's correct.
Right, and then on the performance bond, there was supposed to be a bond in place to cover the entire expense of the entire hookup, not just the Deer Hill portion, but the whole hookup all the way to yours. The bond that's in place right now from Rosano Davis says it's $260,000. I don't know if that covers the entire expense of the project, and his bond, let me pull it up here real quick. The bond says grinder pump retrofit Sawyer Street, 4-lot subdivision site work. So the scope of the project that he has construction contracted for does not include the school at all. It doesn't include the Hagee property at all. It just says grinder pump retrofit Sawyer Street, 4-lot subdivision. So, I don't know if that's normal. I'm not familiar with how the bonds are written, but it certainly doesn't state anything about this, that the school was covered, or town property was covered, or Hagee's covered in that bonds, or that he currently has open. And then post-construction, we asked for a $25,000 bond to be in place for 12 months, which would cover any emergencies that we would have to fix that line because it would be conveyed to the town. Now, you had proposed a warranty from the contractor rather than a bond. So
That's right.
we need a written copy of that warranty, because the warranty would have to be reviewed by council.
Yep.
So that would have to equal the bond, basically, not in dollar value, but in performance of, is it going to cover what we think?
Yep, we can get you a copy of that.
Okay, so that we could, once we get a copy of that, Sharon can confirm that it covers the town as equally as a bond does.
Well,
Right.
I mean, I guess you wouldn't know what you would spend until the emergency arose, but, Paul has guaranteed, or has agreed to guarantee, his workmanship for the guarantee period. He does a lot of work in the town. He's a registered contractor in the town, so I don't think there's any fear of him going anywhere.
Yeah, integrity is not really the question. It's just we need something in place that covers the town for the 12-month period. So it's either a warranty or a bond. So if you've got a warranty, we'll
Okay,
just have her take a look at it.
great.
Yeah, so yeah, we're
Sharon, were you gonna say something? Were you gonna, I didn't know whether you were trying to jump in or not.
Right, I mean, yes, we'll take a look at the warranty, but I'll also have some provisions inserted in the agreement that says that to the extent that the contractor doesn't do the work, the association still remains responsible for that guarantee period, notwithstanding the warranty.
Yep.
I believe that's understood, but I would like to make that express.
Yeah, and I think, once we review a couple of things with Dan, and Sharon, I think we'll be in pretty good shape. We just want to make sure that, we define, better in the agreement, what work needs to be done, on the existing system, what's going to be watertight, when we have the main line coming up to your existing system. We're going to take something old and connect it to something new. So we want to make sure the entire system works. Even though you're responsible for a part of it and we're responsible for the other part of it, we have to clearly define where those responsibilities are, because I don't see that in this draft that you had sent us back. So there's a couple of legal pieces on there on the payoff, and if the properties are sold, we just want to get some clarification again on that. Our language is different than the language you had in there. You had changed. So once we get the red line agreement from you, we can take a look at that and go from there.
Okay,
Tom, you got anything else you good or?
I don't know if Dan has any input, but I read his stuff there. We had some concerns about the combined flows. There's gravity lines, there's force mains, head down to single force mains. So we have to take a look at the as-built plans to find some of the limits of the town portion. Those kinds of things were kind of in the agreement, but the drop that you sent back were not. So
well, haven't those flows already been evaluated and tested back early on when you were trying to determine if Deer Hill was sufficient to handle the flows?
No, what we're talking about is basically the condition of the existing components, the tanks, the piping. Obviously, you want to make sure that they're not contributing II into the system. You're being permitted to add a certain amount of flow to Deer Hill. We want to make sure that it's wastewater and not groundwater. So the condition of the existing components is important to assess and evaluate up front to make sure that they're adequate. So that's something that I think Sean would, or even Rosano Davis could probably evaluate, but we do need to have that evaluation. In terms of the as-built plans, that was crossed out. We do need as-built plans for the system. I know Paul has been taking a lot of ties. Sean just needs to put those together into an as-built set. And the other thing that I really haven't seen is a final exhibit for the transfer or the easement, or even for this agreement. We need to take a look at that final transfer to make sure that the limits that are being transferred to the town's operation and maintenance are in agreement with what the board understands. So we do need to have that well defined. So there has to be an exhibit, and usually the as-built plan is the best mechanism for doing that.
Okay, sounds reasonable.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that, once the whole system is up, that, from the dwelling all the way to Deer Hill is 100% tested prior.
Yep.
All the way through, and then everyone is comfortable.
Yep.
So we just want to make sure that we'll get that finalized in some writing.
Okay, I will have our attorney send the original red line to Sharon, and then I'll convene with Sean and with Paul Davis to read through a lot of those sections that we removed.
Sounds good. Yeah, we can, once we get the red line, Sharon, if you could send it off to Dan Coughlin, myself, and Bill, have you seen it at all, the red line, or Wayne?
Not the red line, no. I think it should go to the board and everybody, so just so
Yeah.
we all have it.
Yeah, if you could do that, Tom, that would be great.
Okay,
If you want to just send it to Lisa and she can send it out to all of us. And also I'd like Brian Joyce to be connected with that as well.
All right,
will do.
all right. Thanks, Tom. No, evidently Lisa sent me a text that Scott wants to come back on and talk about the barn doors.
Okay.
And I don't know if he's ready to or not.
I am. I apologize. We totally spaced it. Yeah, we got a couple different proposals. But obviously one's a lot more than the other one. We just looking for an approval of one of them, so we can maybe finally start the process again. These doors replaced.
What's the cost in each one? I remember seeing it. I just don't remember the numbers.
One was 40, one was 47, one was like 27.
Correct. Yeah.
23, I
But
think.
something like that, yeah.
Yes.
And does the 47 include installation?
They both do.
They do.
Correct.
I think it was 23 and 47.
And do you guys have any history with any of these manufacturers? I mean,
Well, this is, the one I got you was basically from a fabricator. So he's using insulated aluminum panels and framing for the construction of the doors. The other vendor, I believe, is a regular door manufacturer who's also making the doors, and then DNC would be installing those. I've had experience with the welder, excellent welding capabilities, intelligent. I think it's within his wheelhouse to make the doors, but he is making the doors. You know,
and
they
that's,
both-
is that the
this is
23
not a
grand?
standard- I'm sorry.
Is that the 23 grand quote?
Yes, it is.
But he's experienced in this, and I think that I just didn't like the other one that had all of the, you know, the large numbers and the way they came up with their calculations and stuff like that. I mean, it was just, you know, I took it and just thought it was absolutely too much.
Yeah, there was a lot of complexity in that quote for
Yeah.
doors. Yeah.
And I think we need custom doors anyway, so nobody is gonna have it off the shelf. So I think the 23 and having the experience with the people doing it is, you know, I would make a motion to approve that proposal and move ahead.
Yeah, I would second it as long as we can confirm that installation, because I didn't see installation, but that doesn't mean it wasn't in there.
Yeah, it was, he didn't spell it out, but I asked him to redo the quote and he did, and he put installation
Okay.
in there as well.
All right, fine. So that I
The
would
only-
second that.
The only thing I wanted to bring to your attention is I had to make it in aluminum to be more corrosion resistant, and this is marine grade aluminum. It may be shiny, so we may need to paint the doors afterwards. based
Can I-
upon-
Yeah, so can I ask you had brought this up earlier on one of the emails. I'm not sure what the size is, but could you ask him if he could erudite the aluminum? So to keep it from corroding over time, there's a couple of plating processes that you can do. So you can erudite aluminum. It's a little different color. It's kind of more like a darker, like yellowish kind of tan color. But if you erudite the aluminum, then that will get rid of the risk of corrosion.
I believe, you know, I'd have to go back and take a quick peek at the quote, but it wasn't just aluminum. It did have a coating on it.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
with aluminum, I mean, it's porous material. That's why it erodes over time. And especially since we're close to the harbor, we're talking about salt water, so it erodes faster. So my concern is that if we can get it erudited, that would be great. You can anodize it too. Anodizing helps as well, but eruditing is specific to corrosion resistant or some needs of what he thinks is gonna help.
Yeah, he didn't put in his quote, but he did write in an email. I'll double check
Okay,
what it was. I'll get back to you, Paul.
is he a Massachusetts contractor?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Because there's
Okay.
a couple of platers that are around. I don't know how big their tanks are, or how big the parts are, but if the parts may be too big to fit a tank, some of the tanks, but I can help you identify some platers if he goes in that direction.
Okay. I'll get back
So-
to you as far as what sealing process he had listed, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so what do we think? These doors are gonna last 20 years?
Yeah.
At least.
Well, the current doors are probably 40 years, so
Oh, okay.
22.
Anyway, why don't I
me too.
make a motion, since we sort of talked over the other one. So I'll make a motion that we go with the vendor who's got 23 grand, including installation.
Second,
Okay, we'll do a roll call. Bill McGowan, aye.
Paul Kearsarge,
Chuck, aye.
If I could just interject in that motion too, is if we need to have him go and send these to a plater, if the process isn't sufficient, and that would probably cost some additional dollars. I'd like to review that with Paul and have use Paul as a mechanism for moving forward with the proposal. If it's
yeah,
in
if he,
amount
I'd like to see
of-
whatever the coating he has now, I just like to know what that is. If he says he's already coating it, we can take a look at it to see how effective that coating is.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
it's.
But
if it's-
in case, yeah, my point is just so we don't have to wait for another meeting. If
Sure.
Paul can authorize
No,
it.
and
just-
We have, we have, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, 40 plus, I think, 8,700 in the budget for it, so. We shouldn't get up to the top of that, I would think.
No.
No, because we could paint it
That's
for a lot
correct.
less. than
Yeah,
$20,000.
that is correct. That is correct.
How long does
Excellent.
how long does it take to make? Any idea?
He was thinking it was gonna be somewhere around 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Oh, all right, so before winter.
Yes, and he may not have to remove them too. Originally, he thought he was gonna remove them, bring them to his shop just to do them, but it may be possible that we can leave the doors on. He'll just come out and take all the measurements. he needs.
So he's gonna give us new doors. Is he taking the old ones away?
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah. Also doing the hardware and stuff. the
yeah,
hit
oh, yeah,
Locks and stuff.
because I think that that rail must be dead old as well. They hang on, so, all right,
the frame.
okay. Scott, you good?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
All right,
Thanks, Scott.
okay, so now we have CCTV inspection of CJC. Is that you, Dan, or do we want to go on the CJC side, or?
Yeah, I mean, they were doing the CCT. I haven't seen it yet. I thought
Uh-huh.
it was supposed to be submitted by today, but I haven't seen anything. They did do the vacuum testing on the manholes the other day, and 2 of them did not pass, and they were coming back Thursday to repair them and retest them.
Mr. Chair? Can you see
Yeah.
me, hear me?
Yeah, call me Bill, please.
Bill, hi. Jeff DeLisi, I'm here. I think Mark Negrati's on, Brad Picard, Donald Stasco, and George Morgan from our team. Basically, just the quick update is we've completed the sewer extension. We've completed the connection for the 390 building. Since the last meeting, we have done the vacuum testing and the CCTV. I think we probably just need to file a report that confirms that all is good. And basically what we're looking for from the board is pending review and approval of the report. We'd like to connect the building and start using the building. We have quite a few potential tenants, residential tenants, affordability issues, people that are looking to move in. So we're trying to advance this and connect the building, turn it on, so to speak.
That's the
Donald,
tank.
So
you have
don't you have
anything?
to do that don't you have to do that to test the entire water system in the building itself, fire sprinkler and all that, or has that already been done?
No, we do need to, I think the testing of the fire has been done, but I think all of the other testing from the, connections for the various plumbing units and so forth need to be tested. So we do need to turn it on for that. But we see no reason why we can't turn it on at this point for use. So that would be a temporary reason. We need 48 hours just to do that. But we're all connected and ready to go otherwise for that building. So we'd like
This
to
is-
occupy it and get rolling.
So this
So,
is specific to 390.
Yes, 390 only. We still have some work on 380 and 400, which in the next month or so, we should be able to complete.
So I guess I have a question for, I know Scott's in here, but are we able, Dan, to go through the Capella pump station even though we need to get a new pump?
Should be able to.
Yeah, based on what,
I anticipate a significant amount of flow increase with the first building,
Okay,
but I still have some reservations because I haven't seen the tank testing on site that's going to be used. That testing still needs to be submitted. Obviously, we still need the CCTV report and the vacuum tested manholes that failed need to be repaired. So I think it's premature at this point to actually vote for a connection. Because there's still work components that need to be completed.
when do you think the work will be done to do the testing, what Dan is asking for?
I defer to Mark or Donald on that.
Can you hear me?
sure.
I believe all the testing should be done this week and all reports sent to Dan. We've gone beyond what the rules and regulations call for. Dan asked for extra testing and we're doing all that. So we should have this all by the end of the week. And this is just for the 390 building. So I'm requesting the board take a vote that once Dan sees the testing and it meets all his criteria, that we can throw the switch on. What we'd like to do is the pump chamber holds, I think, 2,500 gallons. If we fill all the domestic water lines, that's only 250 gallons of water. So we'd never fill the pump chamber to go into the system. But I think everything should be completed at the end of the week. Dan should have all the data to review that meets all the criteria that he's requiring.
So Mark, I guess we're looking for this, the tank test. Is that right, Dan? Will you be able to do that with that, get that tank testing done? And then knowing that there would be low flow levels in there, that would be fine. And then the manhole issue and the final test results.
Yeah, I mean, if you do,
I can speak to the offsite Route 3A work. There's 3 manholes to be retested for vacuum testing.
Okay.
The CCTV work was done yesterday. We need to take a look at that video too, and we will submit that to the commission. We also did the manhole test. We'll have the package there, and we'll include that in the package. The compaction testing of the soil, everything's related to the sewer main on Route 3A. We'll turn that package over as soon as we can to the commission. As for the tank testing on site, I have to defer to Mr. Stasko and Mr. Morgan when that was scheduled.
I believe the tank has already been tested on site, but I'll defer that to George Morgan. Is George on?
you also have a grease
I
tank.
am
too.
on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So are you referring to the pump chamber?
No, Basically, there's, well, yes, the pump chamber and there's a grease trap too, I believe. for That building,
There's a,
oil water separator.
correct. So what do you want to do? A hydrostatic test on that?
Yes.
Just to fill it up and,
Yeah, and generally speaking, after the hydrostatic test, you have water in the system. So you can also do a clean water test to make sure the pumps and controls are working properly and the flow meter is registering accurately. Because you would probably have to calibrate that flow meter. And unless it's already been done somehow. Mark?
I can't answer that. I have to call Williamson. I don't think it has been,
Okay.
unless it's been, just bench tested, which I'm sure it has.
Yeah.
So Dan, presuming that we get all this information to you, how long does it take you to get back to us to say we're good to go?
Well, it sounds like maybe Williamson still needs to do their pump startup. So I would say after the hydrostatic test, whenever that's conducted, the startup or clean water test on the pumps and the equipment and the flow meter could all occur right after that. So it's up to Dawn to make sure that's all scheduled with Williamson or whoever else is doing the testing.
And you'll have somebody on site when that occurs?
Yes.
George, we're doing the test of the line. Is it today or tomorrow?
It's both, actually. We're actually pre-filling the lines today for Hoadley to do a pressure check tomorrow.
I think at this point, if Dan's going to be on site and we're getting all the testing done, there's it looks like four items that need to be, if I'm tracking it correctly, it looks like 4 items that need to be satisfied here with positive results. I don't see a reason why we can't approve the hookup based on Dan receiving those 4 items.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd want to interject is the Board of Health, as well as the building department, would also need to sign off on that. I know Pam's on this.
Yeah, but isn't that a separate issue that's related to the occupancy permit? Like, we understand that the
Right, I'm just bringing
the
it up.
building inspector has to sign off, but from a sewer standpoint, we're asking for a vote, from this board to say, go ahead. From our standpoint, we are good to go, subject to Dan getting that information.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. You have to get an occupancy permit before anybody goes in. That's separate from us altogether. And I know that the building inspector sent a list of
Yeah, it was a
10 or 11
checklist or
things
something.
out. Yeah, so
Yeah.
so he's on top of that.
And I spoke with him last night and informed him that we were intending to request this vote from the board today. And he was happy to hear that. I think he felt that it would help him to evaluate what he needs to evaluate, kind of check the box on sewer, so to speak.
Okay, yeah, so once he confirms the positive results of the system, then that helps him move forward with other items. I know Pam, you have your hand up and you're on mute.
Yeah, I just had a question again. So normally a failed system is supposed to be connected before new construction. So how far behind is 380 CJC? Because the system's been failed for going on 3 years now.
Yeah.
And Donald, what needs to be done on the 380 building?
380 building will be completed October 1.
No, this
is good. Thank you.
So I to all of this, I think that, if we have language in the motion that basically, nothing's going to occur until, till Dan is satisfied with the submissions, I don't have an issue with that.
Thank you.
So is there any further discussion?
No, Wayne, are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the sewer full connection to 390 CJC. Contingent on the items that Dan had listed. I think there's roughly 4 to 6 items here that he listed. that each item, when completed, is approved. And then Dan contact the three commissioners stating that each one of them has passed. And then they can hook up.
I'll second. We'll do a roll call. Bill McGowan, aye.
Paul Kearsey, aye.
Wayne Sawchuck, aye.
Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'd like to see if we could, you know, now that you're focused on getting this building hooked up, could you get us an updated schedule and kind of prioritize 380 to satisfy the concerns of the failed system over there that the health department has? So if you could give us a schedule on how we could quickly move ahead on 380, that would be favorable.
Okay, the contractor has until October 1 to hook up all three buildings to the system. Stop and Shop's pressure line will be tested tomorrow also. What's holding us up is the pumps and the control panel. And we ordered them 4 months ago. So that's the only holdup. The construction will all be done by October 1st. The pump chamber for Stop and Shop is already in, but we can't finish the right-hand side of the building. You'll see a fence around it until we have the pumps in place and the control panel. The conduit has already been done. That's all been done. But once we can put that online, then we have to decommission the system. That's why we're not going to pave around that area. We're going to have to empty the tanks, fill them with flow fill, so there's no water in them, and then decommission the tanks and everything. And that'll be the same thing that'll happen with the 380 building. It'll all be in place, but where the tanks are and the existing area will have to be roped off until we can bring it online.
So, but
Okay.
Donald, I think what Paul is asking is just something in writing that gives the board a sense of the timing. You just explained it, but if you could just maybe
Yeah,
send it.
we'll give you we'll give the board a written schedule.
Okay, yeah, so we can have something to kind of guide our next, you're talking about within the 8 weeks here, or 4 weeks, I should say, to October 1st, but we know that Dan Coughlin and his staff would be on site for verification of the pump system. Pam, you need a scheduled 24-hour notice of when they're going to decommission for your team to be on site? Is that something? you can prepare?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, do you have a mechanism in place to contact?
They just reach out to the Board of Health office and we get our consultant to go out there.
Okay,
24 hours notice, definitely. Thank you.
okay. So if you guys could kind of, put that in your outlook somehow to make sure that Pam is notified, as well as, we know Mark is working really well contacting Dan's staff. We want to make sure that the Board of Health is contacted at the appropriate time as well.
Paul, this is George Morgan. On that note, Seasburrito is in the process of preparing to notify the Board of Health for the decommissioning of the 4 structures that will be included between 380 and 400. Because I know that they require 14 days previous notice, but I told them to please act on that now. So just so you know.
Okay. Pam, are you satisfied with that? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have 1 Pleasant Street.
That's actually me. Jeff DeLisi, or Berger, DeLisi and Harris. So I represent the 1 Pleasant Street folks. This project actually has been in the works as far as permitting and demolition and now construction for probably about 1.5 or 2 years. This is our first time before the board. The building that has now been demolished was a 8,043 square foot, single story building. It was commercial and restaurant use in that building. And the sewer betterment has long since been paid off. What the owners are doing now that they've demolished the 8,043 square foot building is they're building a new building that is roughly the same footprint. It's 8,280 square feet, same uses on the first floor, but they're adding two additional floors, which will contain 14 residential units. And through the permitting process, similar to what we did with the 390 CJCH building, is we offered to the town voluntarily that we would restrict 4 of the 14 units affordable. And that is a great benefit to the town because it allows all 14 rental units to be counted in the subsidized housing inventory. The total number of bedrooms that are being introduced over the 14 residential units are 22 bedrooms. And so I had initially, I was assuming that even though the sewer betterment has been paid, number one, I just wanted to get confirmation from the commission that there will be an additional charge for the additional flow that's being introduced to the property for essentially the 14 residential units or 22 bedrooms. And then once you've confirmed that for me, then I was looking for the board for a calculation as to the fee. I mean, I've quite familiar with your policies and your regulations at this point, and I did a calculation, but and basically the way I see it is an EDU is 440 gallons a day, which is 4 bedrooms. So an EDU is based on essentially a 4-bedroom single family dwelling in a sense. So I basically just said, all right, well, if it's 4 bedrooms per 1 EDU, 22 bedrooms makes it such that it's 5.5 EDUs. And then I just basically did the calculation from there based on the cost of each EDU. But so I wanted to get from the board what the calculation is. And then I'd like to discuss with the board an appropriate credit similar to what we've done with CJCH to offset that amount for the affordable units. And just to remind the board, and I think that this is a good policy for the town because what it does is it encourages affordable housing in the town. It's another reason to do that. In the case of CJCH, there was a $250,000 credit for the affordable units. And we had, I believe, I did a bedroom breakdown of the 7 bedrooms total for the affordable units, came to about $35,714 a unit. I'm sorry, a bedroom. So we have 4 bedrooms in this building that are affordable. So I was taking that $35,000 credit and multiplying it by the 4 bedrooms that we would have that actually are affordable, deed restricted affordable, and I came up with a number that was $142,000. So I wanted to request from the board verification that there would be an additional cost for the additional for the added bedrooms, and then verification as to what the board's calculation is as to what the cost would be, And then I would ask the board to consider a credit for the affordable units to offset that amount.
Are there any other bathrooms or any other units going to be put on the first floor that are going to require sewer?
Well, there's no residential units on the first floor proposed at all. So say last year before the building was demolished, it was a commercial use, which consisted of retail and restaurant. And that commercial use is going to carry forward on the first floor of this new building. The only difference is there is a slight difference in the total square footage on the first floor. And that difference is 237 square feet of commercial space was added to the footprint on the first floor. But otherwise, it's kind of Mets over there.
So on calculating the cost, I think we have that published in one of our documents that Lisa can send you. I believe it's $9,375 per bedroom is what it comes out to be.
Okay.
So if you take the 22 bedrooms, it's $206,250.
That was exactly what my
Somewhere,
dollar sign was. I didn't want to say it.
Yeah. So
But that's what I had.
we have the rates published by 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom. I don't know if it's on the application document or not. I forget off the top of my head, but when it comes to affordable housing credits, this is something that we would have to take into consideration and discuss as a commission. But the $250,000 was not credited based on specific units. The $250,000 was something that was an overall discussion with the town manager on. Right now, that credit equaled 18% of what the privilege and hookup fee was for CJC. So CJG started at 1.4 million. A credit with 18% credit was giving, the balance was 1.1 million. So if you take the 18% credit, you're looking at a $37,125 credit towards the 206. So that's where that was kind of calculated. It wasn't, we didn't count the number of bedrooms that were affordable and then try to calculate what the town gains with their, I believe he had 20, is it 20 units or 24 at CJC?
20.
20 that the town.
With like 28 bedrooms, I believe. something
Yeah,
like
that the town gets credit for on the affordable housing side. So there was no specific calculation based on affordable units and number of bedrooms. So this was a number that was derived prior to my arrival. But when we calculated it out, it came to an 18% from the initial calculations that we agreed to on what the privilege and hookup fee was.
Yeah, so we're grateful for any credit that the commission would consider for this. I recall the negotiation and the good news is that Donald paid for the extension and the connection costs, the site work essentially. And in this case, the infrastructure, is already there. So what we're talking about is a credit on the betterment amount, which is where you guys applied it on the CJCH project. So
we do
and
have
I know that we'll need to come back to the board. The board will need to have a discussion as to what the appropriate amount, if any, would be. And we're asking for that discussion to occur.
Okay, I believe we have and I'll review this with Lisa. I believe we have an application for the repurpose or the reuse of a property. I believe it's different than the regular application, but we'll have to review that as well. So I'm not sure we've used it in the past or not. So we will need to double check that.
Yeah, and just to remind the board that this was, I had been recently off of the tails of the CJCH building, and what my goal was, as somebody who contributes to the design and concept, is to advise the client that even though we were able to achieve the density under the provisions of the zoning bylaw as a mixed use, that it's something that the town would very much appreciate, and so we followed the same exact model. So anyway,
Let me just add one
Yep.
thing, if I may, just
ahead.
for the credit. The conversation between the town manager and the board actually occurred between the town manager and me. And it was an expeditious credit is how I would label it. There was no negotiation of affordable housing. He just said, how can we get this going faster? And he wanted a credit. And I don't even know how the calculation of 250 came up. It may have been to the 250th anniversary of the town of Cohasset. I don't know. But that was the dialogue that got to that. And, again, for the record, we had, in the negotiation, we had 2 levels of affordable housing credits that went from the first time we came up with the connection fee in the years or so. I mean, it seems like decades ago, but in the years or so of our negotiation. So that fee was completely arbitrary, the 250,000. I wouldn't be opposed to having a credit, but I don't think there was nothing that was based on affordable units. Nothing. It was just a number that was plucked out of the air. So,
well, my recollection, I obviously wasn't in on the conversation, but what my recollection was that we had calculated a betterment fee amount based upon our intended uses under Title V, which was about 1.4 million. And there was discussion, and I don't know who initiated it on the board, that there may be some future uses or something to that effect. And the board's calculation was not based on intended Title V design flow, but it was based upon some other factor. And the number that the board came up with on the betterment amount was around 1.7 million. So in order to get the deal done, I think that the concept was, well, let's give them a credit, call it a credit on the affordable housing. And that will allow a reduction, that will allow a number somewhere in the middle, basically. And that's how you came to that. But like I said, I think that this is something that, I don't want to tightly keep to the paradigm that was established at CJCH. I think it's worth a policy discussion of the board, especially in light of the goals of the state of Massachusetts and the intention to try and create more affordable housing. That when you, in this case, you have a property that's in the sewer district that already has a betterment paid. It makes an awful lot of sense to encourage applicants to voluntarily, in a friendly manner, create affordable housing for the town. And this is a device to do that. So I think it's worth a conversation, at least with you guys. And I do think it's fair, in light of the fact that it was voluntary, and we do have 14 units that would be counted towards the inventory, that actually might be the 14 units that puts the town of Cohasset into the safe harbor. So
as far as voluntary go, I believe that it's in our bylaws for the number of units on contiguous property that a percentage has to be affordable.
Yeah, but the issue was that if we voluntarily put more units than was required,
right?
And the concept was to make them rental units as opposed to sellable condos,
right?
So
right.
that the entire building can be put there, to be deemed to be affordable.
Okay,
and
so
that's the distinction.
Okay. Yeah, just so the commission understands it, because I am on the Affordable Housing Trust. Yeah, we do have bylaws, but there's like 3 levels to it of a 10%, 15 and a 20%, depending on what it is. But because they're rental units, the state allows you to count all the units as affordable towards your affordable housing count. If there were condominiums, we'd only be able to count the 4 units. That's the case up at the train station plaza. Those are all condominiums, but only 2 of them are affordable. So we can only count the 2 rather than all 20 of them that are up there. Have you talked to the Affordable Housing Trust at all about any credits or financial consideration?
Yeah, and during the course of the permitting for the planning board, I think there might have been some informal discussion with the trust, but there never was a formal conversation.
Okay.
Just because I was familiar enough with the process, having just gone through it, so I just threw it out there. So to
Okay.
speak. So I never had a conversation. If you think it's something you'd like us to do, I'm more than happy to do it. Permits have been obtained. We do have to finalize, as I was thinking about it, we do have to finalize the deed restriction on paper. And I would obviously, that would need to be done as a prerequisite to any credit, no doubt. So that would require the drafting of a regulatory agreement, the execution of that agreement with the town of Cohasset, and then that agreement being recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
Right. And then what is the timeline for construction to begin and completion?
Well, the building's down, and I think that they're about ready to pour the foundation. So, it's moving forward with much more ease than the project on Chief Justice Cushing Highway. So
So is it the
they have contractors on site right now, and they're just moving forward.
So you think by December it would be completed?
No,
I think that it's reasonable to expect it to be weather tight by, in December,
Okay.
but it's certainly not going to be completed.
Okay, yeah, so the affordable housing folks, they always want to know when they come online, because that's when we can start to take the credit for the
Yeah, of
dwelling.
course.
So.
And that would be, I suppose, when the betterment would need to be paid, right? Or,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
this is the beginning of a process. I recognize that.
so you think probably March timeframe, I would guess.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
And if I have an update to that, I certainly would send it off to the commission.
I have one comment,
Okay.
and that has to do with the first floor. If the first floor is exactly the same as the first floor uses of the old building, then, the sewer requirements would be the same. But if the restaurant is twice the size or 3 times the size, and then you have a beauty, and then you have this, there should be an increase in what the usage is. So if you took the water usage for the last 5 years and averaged it, or even made the high part of it, then I think that, that's fine if you know what the users are. So I just didn't want to think that you have a permit for sewer for anything you want in the business district, including a restaurant, but the town doesn't, or the sewer department doesn't know what those other uses are.
So anytime there's a new tenant, I believe that the building inspector is to be made aware of that. And at that juncture, the building inspector, especially if there's a build out, and there usually is for new commercial tenants, would have to issue a building permit and an occupancy permit. That's a discussion, I think, for the board and the building inspector. In the context of 390, what we did is we put the flow meters in. that's something that the town should be keeping track of internally, and only would be, and the cost or the fee would, the way I would think of it, would only be assessed as the use comes online. So right now, it just so happens we're going to be putting the same restaurant in the building. It was a very successful restaurant in Cohasset. They're going to have a brand new, beautiful space. I'm sure that space is going to be different size, but I don't know if the way Title V works for restaurant use, for instance, is based upon the number of seats. And the flow is different based on restaurant seats versus tavern seats, in my recollection. So I don't think that those aspects have been sorted out yet. We do know the finite amount for, and what we're asking the credit to pertain to would be the residential units, 14 units, 22 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms and 4 units to be deed restricted, affordable. So that we do know. But I agree with you, Wayne. We're going to need to, as the uses are established in the commercial building, the betterments would be assessed for any increases beyond what had previously been there.
Jeff, all I ask is when you do the application, if you could give us the floor plans for each floor, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that for instance, the commercial floor plans are available yet, based upon tenants and tenant needs. But we do have plans which have not been transmitted to the sewer commission, which have been approved by the planning board.
Okay.
Architectural plans. I'll get them over to you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep.
Just so the board knows, the original betterment for this back in 2000 was just 2 EDUs. And I believe, again, just a recollection, it was mostly commercial space, but almost light fabrication or industry or office.
Yeah,
it
some
was
offices in there too.
Eyeglass company.
Right, AB Optical or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I requested that the board provide me with its calculation, because there are certainly some gray areas. Yeah, I recognize you don't want to treat businesses differently. It's been the standard, obviously, in the town is once a property is connected and the betterment's paid. I think to your point, Wayne, it doesn't appear as if the town's really been following any of the changes in use. So I don't know how you deal with that. That's up to you guys.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. It seems like an opportunity if a policy were generated that put together a protocol for the building department, that seems like an opportunity for the sewer commission to accurately collect money to use towards sewer needs. It would seem to be that you would need a policy, though. So I will send those plans in, and I guess I don't know if the board wants to have a discussion now. I know I'm kind of blindsiding you. I never sent a letter in requesting any of this, so I wouldn't expect you to have a discussion today. But I would hope that in the coming weeks, maybe we can get on an agenda and talk about the calculation and the amount that is ultimately going to be assessed for the residential units.
So are you going to submit just a draft plan?
I'll submit the plans that were the most up-to-date plans that we have, which are stamped architectural plans, which at least show, I know because I saw them. I have the floor plans for definitely the second and third floor, the residential units. I can't recall if I have a floor plan for the first floor. I may. And it wouldn't be a draft. It would be, what's already been filed with the town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can calculate the, using Title V that we did before, the calculations for the restaurant square footage and the commercial use, if it's going to be retail space, that kind of thing. Like we did before, and of course, the residential one is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll submit a formal letter since Paul, your quick calculation mirrored my calculation, just said it in a different way. And I'll put together what I have right now. And I'll also put in the letter, the way I saw the breakdown, at least on the 250 credit, you guys can reconcile why and how you arrived at that number. Just as a benchmark, and then asked to be put on an agenda for discussion, for an actual discussion on this.
Okay,
that's-
yeah, I personally have seen the plans that were submitted to the planning board early on, probably got to go back at least 6 months ago.
It was a little more than a year ago. Yeah.
In fact, it was with the original owner, and then I understand that it transferred ownership.
I represent both of them.
Oh, you do?
So-
Okay, yeah, so it
Yeah.
did transfer ownership, and so everything was on hold for a while, so that's the last time I saw anything on the property, so it'd be nice to see it.
Jeff,
Agreed.
also, if you can add a seat count for that restaurant, what you anticipate too?
Yeah, I'll ask. I don't know if it's something that they have yet,
Sure.
but I certainly will ask.
So one thing that will come to our attention, obviously, because it has come to our attention with the Elm Street project, is I don't know what's over there for manholes on that property, or what's perhaps on the street there. So we would kind of want to identify that. I think, I'm not sure if I&I is a major problem over there, but I know that there was an uproar when somebody wanted to put 20 or 40 units in the back corner over there, and everyone said the water table would rise and flood the area. So I don't,
Yeah, there's I'm just going to interject on this. There was a discussion. There's a resource area that runs underneath the property. I think some kind of stream, which has
there's the culvert.
yeah, which was recent. Brian, I believe, has a lot of knowledge on this, and we met out on the site with our engineer and Brian to discuss how the drainage patterns are working and where the water's being collected and so forth. And I do recall that there's a lot of data on that, and we should be able to provide that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's been very highly scrutinized. The town had hired a consultant to review those matters.
Okay.
And I know Brian also reviewed them, and then all three engineers got together and agreed.
Based off the current plans that the planning board approved.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was during the planning board and the conservation process were kind of run parallel.
Okay.
I believe conservation closed before planning, and my recollection is I was on a little league field last June, doing a Zoom call during the vote to approve it at the planning board. So it was last June.
Okay.
That happened, last May or June.
Okay, I know we're going to be looking at it for the first time, so just kind of understanding the whole property and site for that I&I is going to be a concern.
Okay.
Anything else, guys?
Thank you for allowing me to take your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, take care.
All right, so our last piece of business is an abatement for 87 Elm Street.
Yes, so I have Mr. McGoldrick on. Let me just promote him. Here he is.
Good morning.
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 So you're looking for an abatement.
Yes, so this was for the rear building at 87 Elm Street. It was for the period of January through April 1st of this year. Our tenant that was in there moved out of the building end of January, early February. And then we shut the building down. And we had a demo permit in, which was approved later in March. We did weekly checks on the building before it came down, and the first week of March, we noticed water leaking out of the walls and actually streaming out the back side of the building. So we identified a leak in the utility closet there, which we were able to shut off. And then I think we already had the disconnect request in for in line with the demo permit. So that was done, I think, a week or two later, and the building was down a few months after that. Pulling up the readings history here. So the usage was 18,500. And over the last 4 years, we averaged about between 800 and 900. So we were looking for relief for the delta between those two, just on the sewer.
How long when did the people actually move out again?
I was just going back through my notes. It was the last week of January or the first week of February.
So then you have three uninhabited months of water flow, I guess.
So they were out, if they were out January 31st, it would just have been a month, but like I said, we did weekly checks. We had the demo team there who were removing stuff from the building. We didn't see anything. It wasn't until we saw water literally coming out of the walls, which was the first week of March. So a little over a month since the tenant had left the building.
And where was the water going? Can I ask? Was it going to a floor drain? Was it discharging outside?
Both. It was in the building itself, and then also leaking out the back end of the building, kind of flowing towards the James Brook, which sits behind that parking lot there.
So the leak was the whole month of February, March, and April?
We don't know when it started. We just know when we identified it.
And you
Which was
identified it in April?
No, it was the first week of March. The building was torn down at the end of March. I think the last week of March, we had the water and sewer disconnects sometime between March 7th and March 25th, I believe.
What's the date of the water bill?
The date of the water bill is, I believe it was the May 1st bill covering the period. The reading date is April 1st, so the bill date would have been May 1st.
Okay, and that covered April, March, February, and January, basically?
It should be covered 3 months.
January, February, March.
January, February, March. Wow,
Yeah.
It's a shite load of water.
Yeah, I was.
So it
looking
wasn't
at
leaking in
weather.
January, so you're talking about 2 months, two months worth of water, and you're saying it was $18,000 water bill for the 3 months?
That was the usage. That was the cubic. What
What was the amount of the bill?
The amount of the bill for the sewer was $1,935.10.
So that was for three months. So I mean, from an easy
3
math
months.
perspective,
Yeah, and we expect that the water break or the leak occurred.
Yeah, so you're looking for a credit of
February.
you're looking for a credit of $1,290. That would be 2 months worth right there. Because they were living in there in January, right? So they used water. They moved out at the end of January. That would be vacant February and March. in which you told us in March you discovered the leak.
Correct.
So the bill of 1935 covers 3 months of billing in which the first
Right.
month they used the water.
Yep,
The
sorry,
sec-
I'm caught up now.
Okay, yeah. So the second 2 months, you're talking about $1,290.
Correct.
Okay,
I make a motion to accept the abatement for $1,290.
I'll second. We'll do a roll call. Bill McGowan, aye.
Paul Kearsarge, aye.
Wayne Sawchuck, aye. Okay,
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate the
you.
time.
All right.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
all we had.
All right, anyone have anything else?
I have a couple of questions. One is, I didn't hear back from you. You did the final interview Friday.
Yep.
Was it a favorable outcome or are we still?
Yeah,
in a-
she signed the offer. So,
Okay.
yeah, we actually went through that before you got on earlier. So,
Okay,
so she starts on the 19th of September.
okay. And are we on the agenda for the next select board meeting at all or not? Or should we just tune in?
No, we're not. Yeah. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, yeah, so if there's any, because, I understand the select board wants to have sewer participate in some sort of financial planning in the future, so whenever they identify that, they could let us know and we can figure out, who draws the short straw.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that when I spoke to Gene about was, and I haven't finished it yet, so this is on me, but I was telling her about the regional sewer and that I'm putting together something for the board to review. I will try to get it done next week. Just some talking points, because she had no idea, it's not going to cost anything and things of that nature, which,
Okay,
so I'll get that. And then, but as far as getting on the agenda,
oh, we don't need to be on the agenda. I just didn't know if they were putting us on or not, but
no, there was no discussion of that. No.
yeah, I'm not looking, for another jobs here, so. That's fine.
Yeah.
So the new hire starts in 2 weeks or
The 19th of September.
19th of September, okay. All right, Lisa.
So we have one more, I have one more meeting to
Yeah,
cover.
I was gonna say about 25 days left.
Well, you
No,
look
no,
so
no,
good.
no, no. Yeah, you're gonna do the first one with her too. So. Just a
I'll be
show.
around to show her the ropes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. All right. Well, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
second,
Okay. All in favor, Bill McGowan is aye.
Paul Kearsarge.
Wayne Sawchuck, aye.
All right.
Thank
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good
Bye,
day.
guys.
Thank
See you
you.
later. Bye.